everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Finally, we got some pre-spring sunshine today, which I think is an excellent warm-up for this event. My name is Doria Estrada. I'm the Sustainability Manager with the City of Takoma Park, and I have the pleasure of serving as your MC for this event this evening. To begin, I just want to address a few housekeeping points. For those that are joining us in the auditorium, which I think is most of you, the bathrooms are down the hall on your right, just past the info table. Please remember to silence your cell phones. If you want to check out our info table after the event, that would be great. We have some good resources that I think will be a nice aid to a lot of what gets mentioned by our presenters today. For questions, we have the 2 standing mics, so please don't be shy. Just stand up, approach the mic, and ask your question. And for those in the online space, we're going to be monitoring the Q&A, so we'll make sure that you get addressed as well. We're going to do our best to address everyone's questions, but please bear in mind that we're on a little bit of a tight schedule. We're trying to pack a lot of information in tonight. So if we don't get to you, do not worry. There will be a chance to follow up after. And this webinar is being recorded and will be placed on the city's Go Solar webpage after the event. So now, without further ado, let's get started. I'd like to welcome a couple special guests. Let me go past these. I believe we have Councilmember Gibson over here. Hello. Mayor Searcy, I don't think she's here yet, but she may be joining us. And I have the pleasure of introducing our District 20 delegate, Lori Tarkoudian. Yay. But just as a little bit of a precursor here, we're resuming this community information session after a few years hiatus during the pandemic. And it's a joy to be here with our excellent subject matter experts on the topic of solar. Solar energy has an important role in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating climate change. And we at the city have been proactive in adopting solar in our municipal buildings since 2011. But it's going to take a groundswell and shifting to renewables if we're going to reach our climate goals. We're focusing tonight on solar for residential since our building sector is one of our top emitters at the city level, and there's a lot of decision-making power that lies in the hands of homeowners and renters who control their energy bills. So we hope the information that's going to be presented to you tonight is timely, useful, and it helps you better understand the actionable steps that you can take to play your part in transitioning to clean energy. So let me introduce our first speaker. I have the pleasure of introducing our District 20 delegate, Lori Tarkoudian. Delegate Tarkoudian is a resident of Takoma Park and has been a member of the House of Delegates since 2019. She is a member of several committees, including the Economic Matters Committee, the House Chair of the Joint Committee on Unemployment Insurance Oversight, a member of the Joint Committee on Administrative, Executive, and Legislative Review, and the Joint Electric Universal Service Program Work Group. She has a PhD in economics from the Johns Hopkins University and is truly a powerhouse when it comes to environmental legislation, including House Bill 768 for community choice energy, which she will be speaking about tonight. So join me in welcoming her. Sorry. Can you advance the slide for her? Thank you.
Okay. Clicking from back there. There we go. You can click to the next one. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone here and online. It's such a pleasure to be with you. I'm actually really excited. I did just come from Annapolis, drove directly here, and things are crazy in Annapolis right now. If you're not following, we have crossover is on Monday. Do you want to see that? You want me to try it? This one? Oh, there we go. Okay. Known for my technological prowess as well. So things are a little bit crazy in Annapolis. Crossover is on Monday, and so all these bills, and I know many of you have reached out to me on some of these bills, or your spouses have reached out to me on some of these bills. And I, there's a lot that still has to get out of one chamber or the other before crossover. So it's pretty intense times in Annapolis. But I will say one thing that I'm very excited about is just today, the Warmth Act, which is the network geothermal bill that I've been working on, did pass the House today. And so now, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really big deal. So hopefully I'll be here next year. I'll talk about the network geothermal as my piece of this conversation. But today I'm talking about community choice energy, and I'm really excited to do that. Raise your hand if were any of you all involved with that legislation or with some of the efforts or lobbying on or anything like that? I thought like half of Takoma Park was involved in this effort, so I'm a little surprised, but that's okay. So the idea behind community choice energy is that it takes the decisions about power generation. Oops. Oh, wait, what's going on? Oh, that's not me. Okay. It takes the decisions about power generation, specifically the source of energy, from utilities and private companies, and puts it in the hands of the community through government decision makers. And one of the things that community choice energy allows us to do is essentially get to 100% clean energy, or much closer to 100% clean energy, faster than we're able to do that at the state level. So the state has a goal, you might know, of 100% of 50% clean energy by 2030. There's some concerns about what counts as clean energy for the state, because it includes, for example, incineration in that count of 50% by 2030. But Montgomery County was interested, and Takoma Park was interested in being able to sort of control and buy energy on behalf of our customers, our residents, in a way that would let us get to 100% clean energy and accomplish other economic and social justice goals in the process. So the first thing that had to happen was the passage of HB 786, which passed in 2021. And I have to say, it was actually a massive fight. Whenever we're talking about clean energy and the clean energy transition, there is this reality of corporate control over our energy systems and who's making profits at what pieces of the puzzle. And so even when we know from a policy perspective what is it that needs to happen, there is a reality of the corporate influence and industry influence in Annapolis and in Washington, D.C. for sure, and at the PSC and everywhere else. And so it actually was a really huge fight to get that bill out of the General Assembly. I introduced it for the first time in 2019. In 2021, it finally passed. And I originally introduced it enabling for the entire state. The compromise was to pass it as a pilot for Montgomery County, which is what we finally got passed. As I said, I'm going to talk about how it makes it possible to achieve 100% clean energy for Montgomery County or for Takoma Park or for whatever body is engaged in the CCA. Right now, we're projected based on the way the bill passed and the next step after a bill passes is that then you have to write the regulation. So then it went to the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission, I think maybe this is on the next. No, it's not. I thought it was there. The Public Service Commission has written regs, and we're sort of on track to possibly have the CCA up and running by the fall of 2026. I'll tell you a little bit more in a second about what that's going to look like. But here's how it works. You probably know that, or maybe you know that generally the way that grid level energy moves is that we have poles and wires, and the poles and wires are owned in this area by Pepco. That's not going to change because Pepco delivers the energy to your house. But the question is, which kind of electrons are we purchasing? And so right now the electrons get purchased based on buying that either Pepco does, or if you have a third-party energy supplier, Washington WGL third-party energy or Clean Choice or something like that, then they're making those decisions on your behalf. In this case, the community choice energy is purchasing the energy. The delivery is still through your utility, and then the customer is you. And so it lets the buyer, which in this case will be Montgomery County, be making the choices about what are the energy sources that are being bought on your behalf. And then it'll still be delivered to you through Pepco. So the way this works, and the reason it works is, you may know, how many people have a third-party energy supplier right now, like Clean Choice or WGL or something? You don't have to name what the names are, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so one of the challenges with third-party and, customer choice was supposed to bring prices down. To some extent, the deregulation has had an impact on prices, but one of the problems with the model is that individuals are buying it one-off, right? Like, so you're signing up for Clean Choice, and you're signing up for WGL, and you're signing up for Pepco's extra program, and you're signing up for, and so we don't get the power of community negotiating on behalf of the entire community. And so the idea behind community choice energy is that, in this case, Montgomery County is going to be able to negotiate with clean energy providers on behalf of the entire county. And so now you're talking about not each of us one-off trying to do this negotiation, but 300,000 households doing this negotiation. And so it really has the possibility to move the needle on a couple things. It can move the needle on the price that gets paid. So we actually could get clean energy, either 100% or very close to 100% at a lower price than folks are currently paying for the energy mix. And it can really drive the market in a way that when we're doing these one-off individuals, we're trying to get, I got 100% clean, you got 97% clean, isn't really changing the market the way that we need the market to change. And so the county basically aggregates and purchases on our behalf. Customers are enrolled automatically. So it's an opt-out program, and this is a really important piece of it. I know that Takoma Park at one point set up an opt-in program, and even in Takoma Park, as phenomenal as we are, I think the numbers were, do you know what we were like 10% or 15%? And so when you're trying to negotiate the best possible price and to move the needle on the market in the clean energy world, having this as an opt-out that customers can get out of it anytime they want, but the default is that folks are in it, is what shifts the buying power for the county. And then the utility provider, as I said, continues to actually deliver it to your house. So the things that have to happen that we did accomplish already, so congratulations to us, we passed the bill. We established the work group at the Public Service Commission. The regs have been adopted. There's one last piece of a decision that the Public Service Commission has to make, and that'll get done by April 2024. Once that's done, the county is going to have to pass a law. And so this will be, so pay attention to this. If you're interested in this as a way that, we're really going to move the needle on clean energy in this county, the next step is going to be a county level process, and there will be a participatory process. And so I encourage folks who are interested in this to get involved in it, because there'll be a county level law, there'll be an aggregation plan, folks will be able to be involved in that process, and then there'll be the policies and procedures. And then there's the suppliers, and I think this is what I want. And generally the way it works is that when CCAs get started, often it's very basic stuff that's happening. And so this is sort of the bottom, signing on power purchase agreements, long-term contracts on behalf of folks. What we see in CCAs in California, which is where they've been around for a while and they're really doing some very creative stuff, is that they add additional energy customer programs, energy efficiency, distributed resources, EV rebates, and then some have even gotten as far, some of the really advanced ones in California have gotten as far as supporting microgrids, and transportation electrification and so on. So we're sort of in the early years right now. So I don't think we're going to do those top things in the very near future. The first step is really to get the laws off the ground and to start the purchases. But one of the cool things I did, and this actually ended up being one of the more controversial things that the industry fought against the hardest, is that I did set it up so that the county could own generation. And that was the piece that was sort of the most threatening to incumbent utilities and the most threatening to incumbent generators, the idea of sort of public ownership of generation. And that is in the bill. And so we may not, again, see that right away, but it has the possibility to develop into that. And so this is a really kind of cool and progressive way of really shifting how our energy is developed and used. And so it's, I encourage folks, if you're not kind of tracking it already, it's about to really start happening in this county. And so, yes, and so you can be involved in some of those things. And I will stop there. And if you don't know how to reach me, you should, and that's all the information. And so I hope you take a picture of it and do reach out to me. And I think I've given myself some time for some questions.
Yes. That was perfect timing. Are there any questions for our delegate? Step right up.
Hi. Regarding, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Regarding purchasing of renewable energy, I think it's important that the purchases actually spur additional generation of renewable electricity, because if, for example, the county decides to buy a lot of cheap wind power from the Midwest, that actually might not drive any additional or much additional renewable energy generation. So, but then I guess, so I think the idea of the county owning generation capacity, that sounds like a good idea. But also, what are your thoughts on how to generate additional renewable generation? And I think that also necessitates a certain level of pricing, because the higher the prices for RECs, then the more, I guess, that'll spur additional renewable generation. But then I guess there's a balancing act between higher prices and affordability for customers.
Yeah. Yeah, so great questions. And I just to make sure everyone's sort of, to kind of level set in case not everyone's versed in how we buy clean energy. There's a couple different ways that we do it. And so one of them is through this idea of RECs, which is renewable energy credits. And some renewable energy credits really do drive the market. And the closer they are to home, the solar renewable energy credits in Maryland are driving the market. But you can buy these really cheap RECs from Texas, where you're really just kind of sending money to wind farms that would have been there regardless. And so they officially count as you're doing clean energy, but really they don't move the needle on producing more clean energy. Then there's PPAs, which are power purchase agreements. Those tend to be the strongest in terms of really bringing on new clean energy, because you're basically saying to a developer, we're going to pay for the energy that you produce for the next 20 years. That gives them the guarantee to actually build new energy. And so that's kind of the strongest way to be doing clean energy procurement, short of if we own it ourselves, build it ourselves. So there's sort of this mix of ways that this can be done. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name. James, as James said, there's this balancing act, because of course we're trying to keep energy affordable for everybody, and we're trying to really move the needle on clean energy. And so I think what's going to happen is that this will be the kind of conversation that's going to have to happen at the county council level, of this question of like, what price points are acceptable? Would we rather get to, and I personally think we might be better off getting to 55% clean energy and having it be real move the needle kind of clean energy, rather than 100% and have it be sort of BS Texas wind that was built anyways, right? So but those are some of the trade-offs. And at this point, what I tried to do in writing the bill is to give the county the most options possible, with the possibility of ownership, PPAs, as well as RECs. And then I think it's up to the county and folks who work with the county to figure out what that right mix is. And we may start with one mix, and then over time, as we mature as a CCA, kind of move to another mix. I will say one of the exciting things right now is that I've done a lot of work on offshore wind as well. And the offshore wind developers are like, that's a real open possibility right now, is we could have, Montgomery County could have, 10% or 15 or 20% of our energy could be offshore wind, and a PPA with offshore wind would actually really legitimately move the needle on getting new stuff built, rather than just being wrecked. So there's a lot of possibility right now. And I think if you're interested in that question in particular, I would suggest getting involved with the process that should be starting soon at the county council. We want to make sure everyone at home can hear you too. And tell us who you are as well, because I like to meet people.
Diane McEachran.
Hey, Diane.
What are the sources you consider to be clean energy sources?
So the sources that I consider to be clean are generally wind and solar. In particular, I'm trying to drive offshore wind, as I said, because offshore wind also has the added value of being having a very high capacity factor, and it blows at night, it blows in the winter, so it really balances land-based wind and solar nicely. Adding battery storage into the mix is useful, because that'll also help with balancing. Battery storage by itself isn't necessarily clean, but battery storage accompanied with wind and solar can be clean. But having said that, I think that the way the bill is written, it will be up to the county to decide what the right purchasing mix is. And so it will be important if folks have strong feelings about that to participate in that county process.
Okay, real quick. Hi, Laura. I'm Joel Rosenberg.
Yes, hey, Joel.
After the Montgomery County pilot, what's the timeline for spreading it to the rest of the state?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we set this up, so technically it's 7 years. It's a 7-year pilot, and but if other jurisdictions really want it, I would say we probably don't need to wait 7 years. It was controversial to get it through. It doesn't seem like it should be. I know you're sitting here and you're like, what goes on in Annapolis? If you're not familiar with it, you should come spend some time. And you're like, oh my God. But it was very, very hard to get this through. And we had to get it through as a pilot to get it passed. And so what I would say, though, is if there was another county or that was interested before the 7 years are up, I would say once we're started and we've demonstrated that the sky is not falling on us as a result of having this, it may be possible to add other counties to the pilot, and or it may be possible to make it statewide. I think Montgomery County was the one who really wanted it. And part of what happened was there were other colleagues of mine who didn't want it in their counties. And so because we had 100% agreement with the Montgomery County delegation, we were able to move it forward as a county pilot. But I think that it's possible that another county could get added in before the end of the 7 years, if there was agreement with their leadership and their elected officials. So thank you so much, and feel free to reach out if you have other questions.
Thank you so much, Delegate Charkoudian. Very lucky to have you here and lucky to have you in Annapolis. I know that we have some guests who are not from Montgomery County, so do not despair if you will not be part of this pilot. I hope that our other presenters are going to cover the wide range of options about clean energy for you too. So next I'd like to introduce Scott Annis. Scott serves as the, I think we're having some shifting of PowerPoint. I'm just going to change the slide when you guys are ready. Okay, I'll introduce Scott. So Scott serves as the Director of Community Engagement at iChooser, which assists local governments and residents with the Solar Switch program. Solar Switch aims to scale up solar adoption by providing a streamlined online platform, solar education, and price reduction through group buying model. Scott has supported local governments with solar work and holds a master's in urban and regional planning from the University of Iowa. Please join me in welcoming him.
All right, thank you all. Thanks for your time today on this lovely Tuesday evening, beautiful day out. I'm here to talk about the Solar Switch program and how we can help local residents go solar a little bit more easier. The Solar Switch program previously was called Co-op. It was with the Solar United Neighbors. It's now been rebranded to Solar Switch, and we're trying to scale up this program for the DMV region to make it as big as possible. So we'll go through the intro, a very brief overview of the Solar Switch process, the benefits, and then have some time for some Q&A at the end. So what is Solar Switch? Solar Switch, just the gist of it is a bulk purchasing campaign program. So we are trying to get as many residents as possible to sign up for the program, and then we can take all these residents to the installers and then get a lower discounted price for solar installations. For those who have looked at the solar process or gone through it themselves or know people who have gone through the process, it can be an arduous process. You have to get multiple quotes from installers. You have to understand some of the permitting technology as well. And so this program tries to take out a lot of those complications. It's not just complicated for residents, it's also complicated then for installers having to give out multiple quotes without actually then having a product at the end to have a sale. So with this group purchasing program, we can offer at bulk customers to installers to get that group discount price. So it benefits everybody in the system. It's a partnership between iChooser, Solar United Neighbors, and local governments in the area, including Takoma Park, Montgomery County, Frederick County, Bowie, and then DC and some Northern Virginia localities as well. So again, some of the benefits of buying are taking out some of those items that I just mentioned about the technical research, understanding the product, the solar panels itself, inverters, understanding and getting to know all the installers. I'll go briefly through our installer vetting process, but we really try to cover everything to make sure that you guys have the best products available with the actual installations. And then all this is done through an online platform to understand everything throughout the solar installation process. And then we also offer customer service throughout the entire journey for education purposes or any questions along the way. So here's the customer journey. So first, just getting people to sign up at solarswitch.com. The more people we can get signed up, the more people we have for registrations, and then the better group discount we can get at the end. Once we get that group discount, we then send a personal recommendation out via email. And so that outlines then the current available incentives for going solar, the cash versus loan, payback period, and then an estimated cost in the very end. So that allows you to then make a decision to move forward. At this point, it's been no cost and no obligation. There is a $150 refundable deposit at this point for the decision, and then you're turned over to the installer. If for some reason the installation doesn't go forward, the $150 is returned to you. And at the very end then is the installation or the switch over to solar. As I mentioned, the installer management is a big component of this program. We want to make sure you have the best installers available, so we do auctioning with installers who have been vetted, both online qualifications, but then through the actual financial viability as well. We want to make sure that installers are available throughout the installation, but then afterwards to warranty and approve the product. So we do a reverse auction where we then have multiple local installers who are competing for these agreements, and they're able to compete then and offer the best price available to the customers. And then we continue to work with the installers throughout with the monitoring coaching throughout this process. So the Solar Switch program and the personal recommendation that everyone is given, and general offer is 15 to 20% discount for market rate systems. I'll go into the exact numbers for Montgomery County in the previous campaign that we just went through. But we have quality panels and inverters, all have warranties, 25 on the hardware, 20 years on the inverter, 10 years on the labor, and it's all experienced, licensed local installers. All this, again, is outlined in the personal recommendation that is available online once you sign up through solarswitch.com. As I mentioned, the financing options that are outlined in that personal recommendation are cash, loan. We do have a lease or power purchase agreement. It's not something we like to promote, have forward. We like to make sure that people can actually own their solar systems, increase your home value, and then move forward with that solar system. And we are working with Montgomery County Green Bank as well in discussion to hopefully offer some additional financing options in this next campaign. So as I mentioned, we previously have done a Solar Switch campaign. We had the summer program that was last year. And so you can see we had quite a few people sign up. It was focused on Montgomery County. We got 285 signed contracts out of that with the $2.68 a watt, which is a 17% market discount. And then we did a very small campaign in the fall that was open to all of DMV, but DC focused. And we got 57 signed contracts so far, but we're still working on that process right now. So we're opening up then another campaign starting on April 1st is the official opening, but people can sign up right now. And then we'll have the registration through July 24th. The auction happens May 8th. Then we have the personal offer there in June, and then the final decision has to be made by July. We do anticipate another Solar Switch campaign happening in the fall. So for those who sign up now and it doesn't actually work out to go solar in this program, we do have another campaign that will be launching in the fall, so we hope to get more people then. So I know that was very fast, but that is a really quite a big overview of Solar Switch. We're excited to work with everyone here in Montgomery County for this campaign and future campaigns and keep offering discounted pricing on solar. So are there any questions about Solar Switch? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm right now in trying to figure out whether I go it alone or do something like this. I was wondering, you talked quickly about pre-qualifying and financial stability of the vendors. Do you do any other kind of quality? Like if I was doing this myself, I'd be looking for ratings, I'd be calling people up. What do you do to screen the people that are going to do the installation and whatnot?
So we also look at BBB and some other online ratings to make sure. And we do random quality control checks of previous installs as well. So when they've gone through the program, we can go back and randomly look at different installations. So not only do you have the online qualifications, make sure there's no one making complaints that have been filed against them, and then we talk to the installer as well to understand from their side what the complaint might have been about. But then we look to see if there's anything else that might be disparaging or something that might have happened. But we want to make sure that it's easy for the customer. And the ratings so far have shown that. They just did the customer satisfaction on the fall campaign, and that was mostly with customers who actually canceled and didn't go through, but they still rated it on average 9 out of 10 of their experience with the installer. So they didn't even go through with the process, and they still had a good experience. So we want to make sure we keep seeing that, and that's why we do that monitoring and coaching throughout the process to make sure that the installers giving the best product they can to the customer.
Thanks, Scott. My name's Andy. I'm curious, I do want to do solar panels on our house, but I also want to coordinate it with the addition of a sunroom in the back, which will probably add another third of size potential for panels. So my question is, would working with you and through the group help me integrate the design of that room with the best way to do the panels?
So I think the installer would be able to work with you on that. So they have then the group discount is decided, and so that is by panel. And so if they're working with you on the installation and it's happening over the next 6 months after the close of the July offer, they can say then, okay, for an additional number of panels, this will be the price, and you can sign that into your contract. So that is something you would have to work out with the installer.
Hi, Scott. I'm Carl Elefante, who live here in Takoma Park. So you talked about the timeline of this next solicitation, but beyond that, what's the kind of typical timeline that you would be looking at for, once a recommendation is made through installation and switch?
Yeah, so after the as in like the timeline for once you have your recommendation, sign your contract, what's the install? So we aim for 6 months to have everything installed by the close of the July 24th decision. So 6 months would be through December. There are a few installations that maybe don't quite go through due to permitting delays or something like that, but 6 months is the goal to have everything done by for this campaign. So, yeah.
That was essentially my question. You said all these contracts were signed, and I wanted to know where the panels installed.
Yeah, so of the 285 signed contracts from the summer, I think it's 267 are completed. There are still a few that are working on for various permitting or other reasons. But
hello, my name is Bern Kelly. There is a sliver of Takoma Park that's on the DC grid, and the SRECs are available, which are pay more than the Maryland. Does your organization or do the installers generally keep the credits for the SRECs, or the homeowners guaranteed the credits?
yeah, so if you're doing loan or cash, the SRECs are generally for the homeowner. Only in a third-party scenario do we generally see the installer keep the SRECs. But yeah, we encourage the SRECs to be with the homeowner. So as you enter in your information online, it gets your address, and then it tells you if you're on that DC line, because the SRECs are a little more favorable in the DC region, and so you get that extra line offer than in your personal recommendation. All right, any other questions?
Hi, Randy Gibson. Just I guess a question with the individual homeowners. I guess the question: will the selection of installers and the selection of the specifications, does it vary by for each homeowner, or are you talking about a sort of a one installer that does the whole bunch with a select list of specifications, or anyhow? Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, yeah. So the installer has a general number of specifications that he has to meet for the warranty, he or she, for the warranty, labor, the price then as well. And then the recommendation for your home is built off of your energy demand or need, and then your roof potential as well, if there's shading factors, stuff like that. So the personal recommendation is tailored to each home, but they have a general set of guidelines that they're using for quality and price.
So, for example, just if one homeowner wanted to have his or her panels, not made in China, they could do that, and the installer could would have that option. So as an example of what different homeowners might want.
Sure. So the panels and the inverter are set at the very beginning, so the technical items do not change.
Okay.
Same with the battery as well. That is offered the same throughout. So the offer of the products don't change, but the quantity and the items like that could change.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't think I mentioned real quickly, yeah, there is a battery storage offer as well, and then EV charging is offered in the personal recommendation. Go ahead.
Hi, James Wang. I might have missed it, but does Solar Switch also help customers with getting tax credits and stuff like that?
So we'll outline in the personal recommendation what your possibilities are for the incentives. For instance, it will mention about the Maryland sales tax, how that is automatically not applied to solar. And for the tax credits, we outline the possibility of it, but then that it's up to each person's general tax situation, because the tax 30% doesn't apply to everybody. So they can provide the information of what to do to see if you qualify for that, but we won't say for each individual person's personal recommendation if they do qualify for it or not.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, are you only working with single-family homes, or do you work with multifamily as well?
So generally it's going to be with any sort of owner. So if the building owner of the multifamily, we go up to, I believe, 60 panels. So it can be small businesses or multifamily houses as well, anywhere from 8 to 60 panels.
You want to put that in lots?
Oh, I can't off the top of my head, but yeah, at least small businesses, and I think some smaller multifamily houses would qualify, or buildings, sorry. Go ahead.
On a similar but somewhat different note, and I don't know if it applies to Takoma Park. I'm not from Takoma Park. Do you work with HOAs? So, for example, my HOA, they explicitly allow panels, but I'm sure that still has to go through architecture design review.
So we can work to advertise to the HOA itself. With the actual permitting process, that would be with the installer working with the HOA. It's something we can definitely connect with the installer if that's something that you would like to promote in your HOA development.
Okay.
I have one more.
Okay. Someone's going to beat you to it.
I'm Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
I live in Takoma Park. You talk really fast, and
Apologies about
I'm
that,
trying
y'all.
to take it all in. But the one thing I didn't understand, and this is really basic, but how do you get paid? Like, why should I go through you instead of doing the research myself, right? And that doesn't mean to imply that I don't trust you. But I do want to know how you get paid. And then, because you were talking so fast and I'm getting old, when you go through this auction process, are there multiple installers that you come away with, and then you say to the people who applied, I think this is your match? Or are there like, these are the three that we'd be going, we think of for you?
So first with the installers, in the last campaign there were 3 installers selected for the DMV region, and based off your address you were just automatically assigned an installer. All of them meet the same price criteria, and all of them have then been vetted, so they should ensure the same amount of quality depending where you are. So it's really based on your address is how you get your installer.
And can I just follow up on that? What if then they get too busy?
Oh, that's if we do have to add additional installers, that's something we can do. But we've been doing this now for quite a few years, and we operate in different areas. For instance, in the Chicago region, we can always add in an installer, but we want to make sure again that everything is done in that 6-month period. So it's something we try to project with based off the number of registrations. We can then add in an additional installer if needed. So everything based off the beginning, we can tell how things will play out in the next few months down the road. As far as why to trust us, possibly. So the idea is you can definitely go about it on your own, but that takes a lot of your time. And so that's how we try to make this a little easier, is to take out a lot of that. And so, as I mentioned, it's also hard for the installer to go out and give all these quotes for customers. So we make our money in this situation from the installers themselves. So that's why they don't have to go out and collect. The customer acquisition is a large cost of why solar quotes can be so high. It's one of those soft costs that they have to build in because they constantly have to be having salespeople going out and giving quotes. So by us having this large group of people, we can say, here's a huge potential market that you don't have to go out and get, and that saves the installer time and money, and so then we're able to pass on those savings to residents.
So a follow-up on that, and again, not making any assumptions, just trying to understand it. Could it be then, because you had a lot of people who signed up, but then only a certain number actually signed the contract? Could it be that they were independently interviewing people and found a better price?
It could be in theory, yeah. From our understanding, the price was really competitive for the region and not necessarily beat by individual offers. But the numbers change because, for instance, people might sign up and accept their offer, but then when the installer actually comes out and says, actually your roof needs to be replaced, or it's shaded by 50%, so you can only have this, and then people decide not to go forward, or for financial reasons, or just it's not a good time for them. So
Yeah.
the numbers definitely change dramatically from people that signed up versus actual signed contracts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the questions.
So, full disclosure, I'm a landscape architect, and I'm wondering if you have any firms that are specializing in freestanding structures, or instead of using roofs, which can be complicated later when you need a new roof, but a freestanding, and also four corners of property owners sometimes can have a structure right there, and it can serve in a four-corner group type thing. Do you have a contractors that are doing that type of work?
So our pricing are for rooftop solar. We haven't done ground mounted yet, but that is something that we could definitely explore. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm sorry I came a little bit late, so I apologize if you covered this before I got here. As far as the roof replacement, are you only, I've read a little bit about solar, and combining a roof replacement with installation is sort of an efficient way to do the two things. Mm-hmm. Is there any room for that within the schema?
So we don't do the actual roof replacement, but we do allow for that in that 6-month timeline. So if you do have a roof installation or a roof replacement that needs to happen, we allow a little bit of time in there so you can get that replacement done, and then we can do.
But it would be two because
it'd be two separate, yeah.
It would be two separate activities.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this will be focused mostly on the solar and the battery and EV.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. These were all been awesome questions. Anything else?
Janet, do you mind addressing the question in the Q&A? Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Do one of you guys mind opening that? We have one person online with a question.
There are some paper handouts as well that just have the solar switch, talk about the most recent savings in the campaign that are out on the table, and has our information as well.
We've got a question from Cynthia here. What's the average cost of an installation?
So the average cost came to $268 a kilowatt. I'd have to times that out. I think the average panels last time were 22 panels. I'm really not great on math off the top of my head. But I will say for the DC region, and especially for Maryland and DC with the SRECs that are available, the payback period is some of the better payback periods compared to our other campaigns across the US. So I would say I can't give an average cost, but I can at least the average price was $268 a kilowatt. Go ahead.
Well, we don't know what that means.
Well, again, it depends on your household as well. So when you are signing up online, you get kind of an initial idea of the cost because you enter in your roof size or your house size, your general kind of idea of energy use. And so it's able to do a calculation to figure out what an estimated recommendation for panels will be. Last campaign, that was 24 recommended panels, and I think 22 was the average actual panels installed. So it's really close to actually being what your energy use will be. So you can go online, enter in that information. It'll give you a quick recommendation of here's how many panels you might need, and give it a kind of estimated cost. And then that will be finalized with the personal recommendation.
And we can talk about that in the panel, not the solar panel, but the panel at the end. So we can give you those prices.
Go ahead.
My name's Hallie, and I guess I wonder, my roof is about 8 years old. Does it make, I mean...
That would make sense, yeah.
It makes sense to...
Panels
okay.
are generally 25 years. I believe your roof probably have at least 20 years left on it in general, but it's something your installer would be able to quickly give you.
Can they reuse them if the...
They can take off panels and replace
okay.
the roof and put it back on as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty. I also came in a little bit late, so I don't know if you covered this, so apologies if you did. You just mentioned a few minutes ago, like what if your roof is like 50% shaded? Mm-hmm. I have trees. Mm-hmm. I also have some part that's not. Is that something that's evaluated up front, or does that happen that later on in the process?
Yeah, so they try to evaluate up front to tell you if it's going to be a good, viable option, and there is some general satellite imagery that is available, but again, they won't know until the installer comes out, and so when you move forward with that decision, that $150 refundable deposit, and the installer comes out, and then they can give you an accurate assessment then as well. So, and if it doesn't work out, then your $150 is returned to you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for your time. Again, there's some information out there. There's contact. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Very comprehensive information. And yeah, just to reiterate, for those of you that are in a position to have rooftop solar, do have a serious look at this program. I think it will save you a lot of money, and it's really great. So thank you. But now we're going to switch gears. So I would like to welcome Janani Ravi to the stage. Janani is the Director of Customer Development at Neighborhood Sun, and she oversees the company's service department. She is a Fulbright Scholar alum and a former educator who has worked in the sustainability industry in both the United States and in Germany. Janani is going to be covering the topic of community solar, which is a great option if you're not able to have your own rooftop solar. So welcome, Janani.
Alrighty, thank you for that warm welcome. My name is Janani Ravi. I am the Director of Customer Development for Neighborhood Sun. I'll be talking a little bit more about Neighborhood Sun and what I do as we go through the presentation. So welcome to the Community Solar Information Session hosted by yours truly on behalf of Neighborhood Sun. As I mentioned, I'm the Director of Customer Development, so what that means is I oversee all the customer service for Neighborhood Sun as well as the customer journey. We are a small company. We're actually a startup. When I joined Neighborhood Sun a few years ago, we were only managing about 3 or 4 solar farms, and now we have over 130 across the United States. It's actually my voice on the menu when you call in to Neighborhood Sun, and I manage the entire customer service team as well. So at the end of this presentation, if you decide that you do want to sign up or reach out, if you send an email to our general email address, which is listed at the end, that goes straight to my inbox as well. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about community solar. I hope you can hear me okay. And the things that we'll cover today is why. So why community solar? Why do we need to take action through these measures, through these renewable energy measures? About the company itself, Neighborhood Sun, what we do, about community solar. Community solar might be new to a lot of folks. It's not something that a lot of people discuss, so hopefully I can shed some light on this option that does exist for homeowners and renters alike. And I'll also explain a little bit about the process, how it works, understanding what it looks like on your utility bill, what do you actually pay for. And through the entire presentation, I'll try to cover some frequently asked questions that we get on a regular basis from customers. And at the end, I'll include some helpful resources as well as my contact information. So if you are interested or if you have more questions after today, feel free to reach out. That also goes for the folks at home following along. So let's get started. So why do we even want to take action here? When we talk about utility companies, the majority of the utility companies here in the United States, of course, are going to be using fossil fuels to source energy that goes onto the grid. And these fossil fuels generate about 30% of the global greenhouse gas emissions that we see today. So it's a big issue, and this eventually leads to increased global temperature, which again also leads to climate change. So when we're talking about addressing climate change, one of the more simple options that we have as decision makers is choosing where our energy comes from. And this can have a big impact, a 30% impact on the global greenhouse gas emissions that we see. But this isn't the only problem that we face. So for those of us in the renewable energy sector, or even in the sustainability industry to begin with, there is an inequality across the resources available. So when we're talking about energy specifically and renewable energy, oftentimes these options are really only available for those of us in the upper parts of the socioeconomic sector. But for folks who are low to moderate income, they don't really have the same options as the rest of us. And in reality, we're talking about over 30 million Americans who cannot afford their energy bill, who are in energy poverty. And in particular, low-income households spend 3 times their monthly income to pay for their energy than non-low-income households. So when we're talking about fighting climate change, introducing renewable options, we can't forget about the people who don't have access to those options to begin with. And that is what community solar really tries to address, is both of these variables: climate change, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also providing equality within the energy sector. So how do we take action? So Neighborhood Sun helps residents like yourself sign up for community solar. The program increases the solar energy that is produced directly on the utility grid. This in turn reduces the amount of fossil fuels used on the grid, and it does not require any additional solar panels. So community solar does not require any rooftop solar panels on your home, which is why it is also accessible for renters and homeowners. The idea is to bring a path forward for renewable energy that is equal to all. So our goal is to provide clean local energy for all, regardless of how much money you make, if you're a homeowner, where you live, etc. Now, it's not to say that rooftop solar isn't a good option. As Scott mentioned, it's a great option. If you can afford it, if you have a home that is like in the great like facing direction, doesn't have too many trees overhead, rooftop solar is an excellent option. But for many of us, that the cost of rooftop solar, or maybe we're not homeowners, that option might not be accessible for us. So this is where community solar can help address having access to renewable energy as a non-homeowner. Some really frequently asked questions that we get, just to clear it out, is what we're not. So Neighborhood Sun is not a third-party energy supplier. If you've ever looked at your utility bill, if you have a third-party supplier, you will see that listed on there. We're not a third-party supplier. We are also not rooftop solar. So if you want to get panels on your roof, we're not the guys to do it. And we also don't charge anything else. So there are, anybody in this industry will tell you there are scammers out there. And I'm sure some of you have been approached by them before. And it does make it very challenging for those of us in the industry to connect with consumers when they have essentially been approached by scammy organizations in the past. So it is, one thing that we try to really say is like that we're transparent. You can look up our Google reviews, you can look up our BBB rating, you can look us up on the B Corporation website. We are a legitimate organization out there, and we do offer a legitimate program. And you don't even have to choose Neighborhood Sun to be sustainable. Although, of course, I'm going to advocate for my own company. But my goal is to provide you guys information to make overall more sustainable choices when it comes to how you choose or where you choose your energy from. Some of our partners include Johns Hopkins University, Mom's Organic Market, Chesapeake Climate Action Network. We have partners all over the US, mostly in Maryland because this is where we're based. Our organization started in Silver Spring, and that is where our headquarters are. And we have now grown across the eastern seaboard into parts of the Midwest as well. Our founder, Gary Skolnick, also a local Marylander, Silver Spring. He's been in the industry for 20 years now and has really pushed for adopting more renewable practices across the state of Maryland. He was one of the advocates for the renewable portfolio standard, and it took a really long time to get here. Like I said, Neighborhood Sun started as a very small company with Gary and 2 employees. And now we have over 30 employees. So that's the guy who started it all. And the actual community solar program. So it was a pilot program for a few years. from 2016 onwards. And now, as of last year, it's an official program in the state of Maryland. I'll talk a little bit more about what it means at the bottom there for LMI households and consolidated billing. But essentially, the new legislation now allows for billing to happen consolidated, both on the utility bill and on the invoice. So right now, there is a two-bill system. This is one of the barriers that everyone faces in the industry who does community solar in Maryland, where we cannot bill customers directly on their utility bill. That is changing as of this new legislation, which will make it a lot easier for community solar to be accessible for everybody. But essentially, that means that in the next couple years, you won't have this two separate bill system. What the 40% for LMI households means is that this is a requirement that all of the solar farm projects going forward should have a 40% enrollment of low to moderate income households, with the idea of improving accessibility for our low to moderate income communities in Maryland. And community solar here is the key towards a clean energy transition. I'll talk a little bit more about what costs come into community solar, what you can expect as a consumer. But it being a free service does make it, I think, a good path forward for Maryland residents to participate in renewable energy. So let's talk about why this program is necessary. As I mentioned, community solar is for everybody. So you don't have to be a homeowner to participate in community solar. You can be a renter. And in fact, the majority of residents don't qualify necessarily for rooftop solar. Many residents might be homeowners, but their homes might not be facing in the right direction, or they might have too much shade, or potentially they, own a condo or a townhome, and they don't have the ability to install panels on their roofs. For those folks especially, community solar offers an option for them where they can still have access to solar energy without having to build anything on their homes. This also includes renters. So if you're a renter like me, or you're somebody who maybe isn't going to be staying in your home for the long term, where that investment of rooftop panels might not pan out for you, this could be a good option for you. So let's talk about how it works, because let's be honest, anything relating to the energy industry is confusing. Reading a utility bill, confusing. So let me try to break it down for you. So the way community solar works is that you as a subscriber or resident will get a share of a solar farm. And that solar farm is directly on the utility grid that you live in. So if you're a Pepco customer, we have solar farms in the Pepco region in Maryland, and we will connect you to a Pepco solar farm. If you're a BGE customer, it's the same process. So as long as you're a Maryland resident and you get a utility bill, you can be hooked up to a local solar farm and receive solar energy from that solar farm. Let's look at it in a little bit more detail. So step one, you maybe contact a subscriber organization like Neighborhood Sun. We're not the only ones out there, but you contact one of us. We're going to sign you up to a solar farm. That is based on where you live. So you would enter your zip code. Based on your zip code, we know which utility region you live in. And if you're a BGE or Delmarva, Pepco, Potomac Edison, First Energy customer, regardless of which utility you're in, you will be assigned a solar farm in your utility region. From there, you get a percentage, what we call a share of the solar farm. In reality, what it actually means is you get a percentage of the total energy output from that solar farm. But we keep it simple, and we keep it simple for customers. We like to show it as like, you get 2 solar panels, I get 3, that person gets 4. But in reality, it's a percentage of the total energy that comes from that farm, and it's based on how much energy you use. So when you sign up, we look at your utility bills and determine how much energy do you use per year, and we try to cover 90% of that in the form of solar. Then the energy is generated by that solar farm. It goes onto the utility grid, and the utility company gives you solar credits for the solar energy. I have a couple examples later to show you what that looks like on a utility bill, but you get solar credits. It kind of functions like a rebate. So the utility company is obligated to pay you for that solar. No utility company is just going to put cash in your hands. So the way that they do it is to take the money off your utility bill. I have some examples later that should help break it down. Like I said, it's confusing for most people who are not in the industry, and we know that. But I'll try my best to break it down a little bit better for you. Ultimately, you will get those credits on your utility bill. You pay whatever's remaining on your utility bill. It's usually just taxes and fees. And then from there, you will pay a separate invoice with Neighborhood Sun, although that will change once consolidated billing takes off in Maryland. So here's an example of what this actually looks like on your utility bill. Here's a BGE bill. For those of us who are Pepco customers, let's marvel at BGE's utility bill because it's so easy to read. Like whoever their graphic designer is, I have to give them like a box of chocolates. So the BGE utility bill is pretty standard. It shows your electric charges, your gas charges, and other charges at the bottom. And right in the front page, you'll see other charges and credits. And that is the community solar credits deducted off the utility bill. So let's say you are signed up for a solar farm and you normally spend about $100 on your utility bill. We're now going to cover 90% of that in the form of community solar. So you get $90 off your utility bill. You pay for that $90 with Neighborhood Sun, but it's also discounted. I'll get to that a little bit later, but all of the community solar farms have a discount. You have a guaranteed discount or savings. There's a few reasons for that. In part, it's through the pilot program for Maryland, now a permanent program to offer a discount to residents. But also, when you think about it, solar is cheaper to produce. The upfront cost might be higher in terms of the technology, the panels, but there's no refining process that needs to happen, like with fossil fuels. So ultimately, solar is cheaper to produce. Therefore, customers do get a set discount. It can be anywhere between 5 to 25%. I'll show you some examples in a couple slides. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like on the utility bill, what you could expect, and the corresponding invoice from Neighborhood Sun. So if we go back, this customer got $56 taken off of their utility bill. Those are the solar credits applied, like a rebate. Then they get a separate invoice from Neighborhood Sun with a 10% discount. So that money, that part of their bill gets taken off their utility bill, that portion of their costs, and they pay for that separately with their subscriber organization, us, and we guarantee a discount at sign up. So this customer had a guaranteed discount of 10%, and that means when you add those costs together, if they were paying $100 every month before they signed up for community solar, they're now only going to pay $90 every month for their energy. Yeah, you're not going to buy a car from that savings, but it is going to be guaranteed savings that you'll get every month through community solar. Right now, it's about 5 to 10% for most residential customers. 10% is now the average. Some of the older solar farms have a 5%, but it's mostly 10% now. If you're low to moderate income, if you meet the income guidelines for the state, you do get additional discounts between 20 to 25%. And if you're a commercial business owner, you get a 5% discount as well. So those are all things determined also by your utility bill. Your utility bill will say what rate class you're in, and based on that, we can give you additional discounts. Whoop. So this is basically the example I already discussed, but in visual form. So without community solar, you're maybe spending $100 on your utility bill. Now you get 90% of your energy covered by Neighborhood Sun. So you're only paying maybe $10 on your BGE or Pepco bill. You get an invoice from us for the $90 minus your 10% discount. So you will save money every month on your total energy costs. And again, if you are low to moderate income, you're going to be saving more, which I think this program is highly advantageous for folks who meet that income threshold. So what do we do with all of these different actors? I like to describe Neighborhood Sun as kind of like this triangular relationship where we're in the middle of this triangle and we connect residents and the solar farm developers and the utility companies. What we call developers are the actual folks who build the solar farms and finance them. We don't actually own the solar farms. Those are our clients. So these solar farm developers build the solar farms and they hire us to manage everything: marketing, sales, customer service. The residents are folks like yourselves, and of course the utility companies like Pepco, BGE, et cetera. And we kind of are the middleman, connect all of these actors together. We help the residents better understand their utility bill, better understand what they're paying for, make more informed decisions about their energy. And we also help maintain like the standard and communicate what customers want from community solar to the other actors, to the utility companies, to the solar farm developers. So we listen to what folks have to say, and we make sure that those things get by to the solar farm developers and the utility companies, and hopefully that's how we start making changes. That's essentially how I think a lot of us have pushed for consolidated billing, a lot of us in this industry, and that's how it happened, from feedback from folks such as yourselves. Am I good on time? Okay. All right. So we help connect residents to the solar farms. Again, we are the middleman. One thing I do want to point out is, how are we different? How does Neighborhood Sun differ from other organizations out there? We are a certified B Corporation. If you haven't heard of B Corporations before, there are a bunch out there like Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia. These are for-profit companies that have a focus on a social mission of some kind, whether it is giving back to the community, focus on environment. There is a stringent process to qualify to become a B Corporation, and you also have to maintain that certificate every year. So we're really proud of that status, that we are a B Corporation. We like to give back to our community. We are very much the Maryland Solar guys. And we really try to make it as easy as possible. We understand that whenever you talk about energy, utilities, it is not easy for anybody to understand. None of us learned this in school. You know, we got our first home and we got a utility bill. Nobody taught us how to read it. And one of the things that I think Neighborhood Sun does really well is we try to make all this confusing information, all these variables, as accessible as possible to just the average person. And lastly, we don't charge anything extra. At the end of the day, the solar farm developers are the ones who pay us. So we have no interest in charging customers anything extra. There's no enrollment fee, there's no cancellation fee, there's nothing else that we charge. Customers only pay for the energy that is generated by their share of the solar farm, and that's it. Lastly, one of our big focal points, and this was actually the reason I joined Neighborhood Sun myself, is that we focus on providing energy equally for all. We have over 5,000 low to moderate income subscribers across the United States now, and these are folks that are saving 20 to 25% off of their utility costs. It makes a big difference. This is a difference between them being able to afford, you know, to pay for other things for their kids, and being able to prioritize that over paying their energy bill, because now they're saving extra money every month. This is one of our biggest focal points in giving back to the community. We also have something called the Neighborhood Benefit Fund, where if a customer has undue financial stress for a month, let's say, you know, they have a surgery or something else that goes on, life happens, and they can't afford their Neighborhood Sun invoice, we have a fund set aside to cover that invoice for that month. So we really try to be advocates for our customers, because we are just like them. We're all in the same boat together. I'm actually going to skip this. You can feel free to read these. The next two slides are some of the Google reviews we've gotten. I encourage you guys to look us up. Most companies probably wouldn't say that, but I encourage you to look us up, look at our Google reviews and BBB reviews, and you can find our B Corporation certificate and our qualifications on their website too. So I'll just skip through that. So lastly, just a kind of couple summary slides at the end. Why subscribe? So of course, the idea is to support clean local energy. Everything that we connect subscribers to, all the solar farms, are in Maryland. They're in your utility region. They're local. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, of course, we're all in this fight together to fight climate change, to mitigate the effects of greenhouse gas emissions. Supporting a program that is available for everyone. Regardless of how much money you make, if you're a homeowner or a renter, this is a program that you can have access to as long as you get a utility bill. You can subscribe for free. There is no enrollment charge. You don't pay anything extra. You can cancel anytime. There's also no fee to cancel. And you have a guaranteed minimum saving of 5%. But again, your savings ultimately will depend on A, which solar farm you sign up for, and B, your income status. And lastly, what is the actual impact of community solar? So the average community solar subscriber offsets the equivalent of 8 hot air balloons filled with CO2 per year. By the numbers, we have over 9,000 subscribers now. These subscribers have saved a total of over $5 million off of their utility costs. And we have cumulatively reduced 390 metric tons of CO2. I would say that's a pretty big impact. Lastly, just some resources for you guys. So if you are interested in signing up, if you want to know more, if you're skeptical, whatever it is, feel free to reach out to us. Again, all of those emails go to my inbox as well as my team, hello@neighborhoodsun.solar. You can also mention this event, and then it'll get directly forwarded to me. This is our website, www.neighborhoodsun.solar. Look us up. If you're not sure and you just want to get more information, still contact us, one of our sales reps. Very informative. We'll go through the process with you, see if you qualify, see if it's a good fit for you. We have a lot of customers reach out to us, ask us questions about the differences between rooftop and community solar, and we know pretty much everything there is to know about solar, so we can answer all the questions that you have. And with that said, we have, I think, a few more minutes for questions, so feel free to give me your most challenging questions about community solar if you have any. And thank you.
I'll get us started with a question for the benefit of everyone here. Can I have both rooftop solar and community solar?
That's an excellent question. So if you didn't hear, the question is, can you have rooftop and community solar together? The answer is yes. So we actually have subscribers who do both. It depends on how much your rooftop solar actually covers. So to give you an example of somebody I talked to a few months ago, he had an audit done and he started to get his energy bills with his rooftop solar panels, and his panels are covering something like 70% of the energy that he uses per month. So that remaining 30% we cover, so that he can be as close to 100% renewable as possible. And at least for that remaining 30%, he'll also get a 5 or 10% discount off of that as well. So he'll still be saving money through community solar, and will be as renewable as possible with his energy, can still have rooftop panels. As you guys know, when it comes to solar, there are variations throughout the year. So in the summer, you're gonna get a lot more energy than in the winter. And if you live in a state like Maine, which none of us do right now, the snowfall will also affect how much your panels get. And the same for solar farms. So it's a win-win if you have both. There's always gonna be some fluctuations and variations of how much the solar panels can get in a given month. And it helps to have both, I think. Yeah. Any other questions? Sure.
I have one, and I think maybe it's a clarification. So, third-party energy suppliers will say that you sign up and you get it's a yearly contract that they can leave for free, and there's no income verification or willingness to pay. But my understanding of community solar is it's a longer term contract.
Yes.
And then you have to qualify to, and that's why I'm like interested in the low income residents, because at least originally it was, well, you had to have enough income for the energy generators to say, yeah, we want you as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so how have you surmounted that for, there must be incentives or, state incentives or something. So to maybe clarifying that it's a long-term, and what's the contract period that people, when they enter into the neighborhood sun, and then that the verification, it's not that you sign up and you say you're done, but
yes,
it's a little more complicated.
Yes.
Not to make it complicated.
No. Those are good questions. So to answer the first question, yes. So we have actually a longer term contract. If you look on our website, most of the solar farms will say something like 20 to 25 years. That does not mean you have to be signed up for 20 years. God forbid you don't. Most people, move out before then or whatever. But what that means is that we don't change the contract terms. So it's there to protect customers. There are yearly contracts out there with, different organizations where they'll introduce something like an escalator fee, where every year you'll have to pay a little bit more. The 20-year contract term guarantees that for the length of, or the lifetime of the solar farm, which is usually about 25 years to 30 years, your rate won't change, your discount won't change, there won't be any additional fees introduced. So yes, it's a longer term contract, meaning the contract terms won't change every year. You can still cancel at any time. As far as the second question goes about low to moderate income households, so when you sign up on our website, if you do qualify for low to moderate income discount, there's actually on our webpage, it's called the Share Program. There's a little infographic that tells you how much you need to make in the state of Maryland to qualify as low income, how much you need to make to qualify as moderate income. If you meet that threshold, you do need to provide some kind of verification. We have a list of different documents we accept, like SNAP, can be tax documents, can be Medicare. There's a bunch on there that we accept. And if you just provide that evidence that you qualify for that threshold, then you'll get the additional discount, usually 20 to 25% off of your charges. Did I answer your full question there?
Yeah, so I had not realized that you could drop it any time, because that's different than at least some years ago when I first heard about it.
Yes, you can cancel at any time. There might be a little bit of a wait period with canceling because of the way billing works. So you cancel at any time, but you might still have to pay for the previous month because usually, you get your bill after the energy. So even if you cancel, you'll still have, one invoice to pay that was for the month before you canceled, but you can still cancel anytime. There's no fee or anything like that. Questions?
Yeah, you talk about the fluctuations in the energy production and the billing. The question I had is, is that credit kind of accounted for the entire year and then get divided per month, or is it also produced monthly and then dedicated monthly?
That's an excellent question. So what we do is that we take how much energy you use for the whole year and we try to average that per month. So you definitely get more energy production in the summer, but we try to even that out so that customers get like a consistent amount of energy throughout the year as much as we can. But it's definitely the case that in the winter you're going to get slightly less than in the summer. Anything excess rolls over. So in the summer, like in the month of July, which is usually where you have the most solar production in any state, any of that excess credits kind of roll over into the winter, for example, when you don't get as much. So we try to keep it as consistent as possible, but there is going to be a little bit of a difference between how much you pay in the winter and how much you pay in the summer. The same thing happens like when there's a big snowstorm, that can reduce generation a little bit, but rain and things don't really affect solar. Yeah.
Hi. Kind of following up on Walter's question. I'm James Wang. So I I hesitated, or I was looking into community solar programs, but I ended up not choosing anything because I might be moving out of the region any day, and I also I saw, I think maybe for Neighborhood Sun there's like a maybe 60-day notification period.
Mm-hmm.
So if I cancel, I still have to pay, I guess, 2 more bills before it stops. So and also I'm wondering how long does it take to finally get enrolled in the program. So I'm just wondering whether it's worthwhile for me to consider Neighborhood Sun, given that I might be moving soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all good questions. So to answer the first question about if you're moving or like you don't have a long-term residence currently, you can still sign up for community solar. The turnaround time is pretty quick. If we already have a solar farm with spots available, you can be up and running and getting those credits within 2 weeks to 3 weeks maximum. The wait time just happens because we have to submit that information to PEPCO or BGE, and they have to also enroll you on their end because they apply credits on your utility bill. And depending on the utility company, it can take a little bit longer. BGE is faster than PEPCO, for the record. But your other question about the cancellation timeline. So actually, the reason we say 60 days is because of the delay. So if you get a bill from Neighborhood Sun this month for March, it's actually for credits that were applied on your February utility bill. And we don't cancel you until the end of the month because we have to submit that to the utility company at the end of the month. So if you cancel today, you wouldn't be dropped until the end of March. That would mean, though, you would still have to pay for the solar in March. And then you would get that the month after. So you'll get your February credits charged in March and your March credits charged in April. And that's why we say 60 days. Because it takes 60 days for the utility company to actually stop sending you credits. Yeah.
We're running a little tight on time, but I want to address this question online. It looks like you have a question too, right? Okay, well, we'll go with you without the last one. So someone online is asking, what's the comparison cost to a homeowner to consider whether they should install panels or buy solar from a farm, or when is the break-even time span? I think that's a pretty technical question.
It is. I gotta say, when it comes to like math, I'm in the same boat as Scott. I'm not an expert in math. I was a English teacher for a long time. Well, I'm not an expert, but I would say, it could cost about $20K maybe to get solar panels on your roof. And there is a good return on that investment if you're going to stay in that home for a long time. Whereas if you get community solar, you're not really changing the amount you're paying at all. So you're not putting any upfront cost. You're not installing anything. The only thing that changes is that some of your energy is now coming from a solar farm and you're paying for that separately. But again, that will change once consolidated billing takes effect soon. But you're not really changing what you're paying. In fact, you're paying 10% or 5% less every month. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but I guess the difference is, producing your own energy in terms of rooftop solar, it can also save you money, especially if you have a really great angle with the sun and don't have shade. You can overproduce energy and the utility company can owe you money. And I've seen that before too. So it's also good return on that investment long term. But if you're looking for a shorter term solution, if you don't know if you're going to be living in your house for the next 20 years, if you don't know if you can finance having rooftop solar panels, community solar is going to be a better option for you.
Okay, last question from you. For online, sorry, for Paul online, we're going to have to answer that later. But we see your question, so just hang in there.
Hi, I think earlier you said there was like a 40% low to moderate income that you're trying to have the benefits go to. I was curious where that number came from and if it was at all related to Justice 40 and the government, if you know what I'm talking about.
That's a good question. So the question was where the LMI threshold comes from. To be honest, I think it's starting to become more of a standard across states, so I don't know if it I don't know what like was the source that fueled the 40% requirement, but I'm seeing this across the US. Like the latest legislation in New Hampshire also says 40%. I think New Jersey also says 40%. I think the idea is that when you're looking at a county, the majority of the county is not going to be low or moderate income, but you're looking at about 40% of a county maybe falling into that moderate income threshold for sure. I mean, moderate income, they're like your teachers, your firefighters, your average Joes, and most people kind of fall, or at least half the county falls into that sort of category. And I think that's where it comes from, is when you're looking from county to county, a little less than half are going to be in that low to moderate income category. It's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anani. She just said she'll be sticking around for a little bit, so questions that we didn't get addressed, we'll make sure to approach her after. Our next speaker is Larissa Johnson, the Residential Energy Program Manager at Montgomery County DP. Larissa is a self-described energy edutainer, and as a recipient of her fun energy newsletters, I can attest that this is the case. She holds an MPA in Environmental Science and Policy from Columbia University and has 2 decades of experience in helping create more livable, healthy, and sustainable communities. So let's welcome her.
All right. Can you even hear? Can I use that, actually? Good evening. Are you still awake? Because I was falling. Just kidding. No, everyone is good. It has been a long day. I am the Residential Energy Program Manager for the county. That means that I talk about energy all day, every day, everything from conservation, efficiency, electrification to renewable energy. I am not an expert in anything. I know enough to get me in trouble about most things, though. So that's the problem. But the big thing is that I'm here for today, hopefully it's going to be very short. I'm here to just give you general information that you should probably already have. There's probably a slide deck that I definitely gave Dory. There we go. Go solar, Takoma Park, woo! Who already has solar panels? Why are you here? Because you want to go community solar, right? Because there's a little bit of space where you're like, I could even be greener. Is that what it is? Yes? Yes. And you're here to share the information. Yes. I too have solar. I am not only the president, but I am also a client. Does anyone remember that commercial? The Hair Club? Come on, y'all. All right. Anyway, I have solar. I went through the solar co-op process. So everything that Scott talked about, I have done. So we've been promoting it at the county level for more than 6 years. What year is this? I started in 2016, so that's way more than 6 years. 8. Wow, none of us are good at math. That's why we just talk a lot. We don't do any math. 8 years I have been doing this work, and I have had solar since 2020, so 4 years. But I went through the whole solar co-op process, as did my supervisor. So we try to make sure we are doing what we're asking residents to do. And I will say one of the major benefits of doing this is that I didn't have to get quotes from 3 different people. It was drastically less expensive to go through the solar co-op process than if I would have done it on my own. And then also in Montgomery County, we have the Montgomery County Green Bank. Does anyone know about that? Yes. The same people. All right. So Montgomery County Green Bank is where you want to go if you want to finance your solar panels or other projects. It was created specifically to help people do all of these renewable energy projects. So I would highly recommend that as well. That's what we went through, my husband and I, to get solar panels on our roof. All right, so Montgomery Energy Connection is really what I'm here to talk about. It is the website. I do encourage you to go on the website right now, even while I'm talking. It is your link to all things energy. Everything that I'm going to tell you is somewhere on that website. It was created 5 years ago. What happened here? Oh, the website. It's montgomeryenergyconnection.org. Thank you. Yes. But this is where you want to go for everything, and everything will be updated this year because it is 5 years, so we're trying to make sure you know where to find everything. But this is where you want to go. So when you're talking about solar, either community solar or solar co-ops, there's a spot that says, I want to learn more about renewable energy. It's all going to be under there. I know someone's going to talk right after me about Energy Sage. I'm going to let them do that. But just know that Neighborhood Sun is not the only option for community solar. We even have a program here, a project right here in Montgomery County at Paddington Square. And we have another one at Oaks Landfill. And so that is through Groundswell, and the other one is through Neighborhood Sun. And then there's also Ampion. So there's other groups too that also will provide information. Energy Sage will tell you more about that. All right, so what is the cheapest form of energy? And I have prizes. And I'm sorry, y'all on Zoom. This is why you have to come in person, because that's when you get the prizes. All right, what's the cheapest form of energy?
Energy conservation. Conserved energy.
Yes, my friend. The energy we do not use. You get a kilowatt meter. Yeah, so now you can see how much you're wasting. Yeah, the energy we don't use. So the very first thing we always talk about when we're talking about energy, where do I stick this, click this? Sorry, y'all. It's energy conservation. It doesn't matter. I already know because I talk about this all the time. So conservation, these are easy. Who has had a quick home energy checkup? Who has never heard this word before, these words before? Oh my goodness, golly geez. Okay, so there's a thing in Maryland that has been in existence since 2009, even longer than that, called Empower Maryland, EMPOWER Maryland. It's a surcharge on your utility bill. So when hopefully you were paying attention, that was the only first page, but if you go through your utility bill, you will see a surcharge for Empower Maryland. It has been on your bill since 2009. It is based on how much energy you are using every month. That money then goes to this big pot of money that then gets redistributed through the utility companies to help us lower our energy cost. Yep, it's one of those, the wolves are watching the chickens, something there. It's a little wonky, this program, but the good news is the Quick Home Energy Checkup is one way to help you lower your energy costs at no additional cost because you already paid it. So make sure you are getting your Quick Home Energy Checkup. What is it? It takes about 60 minutes. Contractor comes to your home, they're going to replace your light bulbs to LEDs, they're going to give you high efficiency shower heads, faucet aerators, everything all at once, so you don't have to do it, and they install it for you. That's the Quick Home Energy Checkup. So that's one thing you want to do. Again, it doesn't cost you anything additional, but as was mentioned, there are scams out there. This is a legitimate program that you have been paying for since 2009, so get your money back. The savings will also happen when you do this Quick Home Energy Checkup. These are some other things that you should be doing, hopefully, taking 5-minute showers, making sure your thermostat's at 68 degrees in the winter, 78 degrees in the summer, things like that. Y'all know, right? Raise your hand if your house is at 68 degrees right now. 69, 70. I know, but today was warmer, my friend. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt today. But he is right. But the truth is, the closer it is to the outside temperature, the less money you're paying to heat or cool your home. But how comfortable is that? Not comfortable. It's awful. All right. Next is efficiency. So efficiency is when we are not wasting energy. Who here, I'm going to give this to the first person whose hand I see up. It doesn't say, it's not changing. That's okay, though. Efficiency. So who has had a home performance with Energy Star audit? Yes, don't be embarrassed. You don't want a kilowatt meter? Oh, man alive. You want your kilowatt meter, my friend? Yes, Story, will you make sure he gets this? All right, so home performance with Energy Star audit. This costs $100 because that Empower program I talked to you about pays for $400 of it. That's correct. Or is it $400? They pay $300, you pay $100. That's correct. You pay $100, they pay $300. Ooh, it's been a long day. Anyway, this is a comprehensive look at your home. If you are thinking about solar, you want to do this first. You want to make sure you are not wasting energy first. So this is about 2 hours. They're going to go in your attic, go in your basement. They're going to do a door blower test. That's what this picture is of. And it's super comprehensive. Then you get a report. The report's going to say, here are the most cost-effective measures for you to take in your home. It is specialized for your home. I also did this. I will tell you I got my solar panels before I did this. Don't do that. Do this before you get your solar panels because then you'll know how much energy you're using. The other thing, when I did this, my attic had 3 inches of insulation in it. Does anyone want to guess how much it should have had in it? 12 to 15. They put 30 in mine. Yes, 27 inches. I'm telling you, my bill changed dramatically just from that. So I highly encourage and recommend that. The beautiful thing is that once you do that home performance audit, it unlocks $7,500 worth of rebates. So you want to do this so that you get those rebates, okay? You will not get access to those rebates without that home performance audit. Other things for energy efficiency, switch to LEDs. But again, if you do that quick home energy checkup, they're gonna do that for you. And then every utility has a marketplace. So right now, if you are shopping for a smart thermostat, you can get them for $1 whole. You can get a Nest thermostat at your utility marketplace, if it's Pepco, for $1. So go look at that. That's a great place to get things if you need them. And then, how many people know about this? The Montgomery County Energy Efficiency Tax Credit. 1, 2. All right. Y'all know everything. Again, you should be up here. Why are you down there? You've done all this stuff already. All right. So this has been in existence, again, since 2011, and it provides $250 in tax credits every single year. So you can space out that work that you do. You can get new windows this year. Next year, you can do the insulation. The next year, you can do something else, whatever you want to do. The other big thing that we have happening is Electrify MC. It is a program right here in Montgomery County to help residents electrify their homes. So this is switching from fossil fuels to electrification or electric appliances. There's money for everything from induction cooktops to heat pumps. So you want to make sure you're signing up for this. This is a pilot program. So just like Community Solar was a pilot, this is a pilot for the county. And you will get anywhere from, it depends on what you're doing, but you could get up to $250 for the switching of something. It depends on what item it is. I have more information in this bag that I will make sure these are out there for Dory and she can have them. So you all have that information for Electrify MC. But that's a great pilot program. The money, in a way to be equitable, we split it up based on district, based on how many single family homes there are in each district. And I will tell you that your district still has money. So don't leave that money on the table, y'all. So that's that. And then the last one is switch to renewable energy, which everyone here is talking to you about, but I want to make sure that you're not wasting your energy first, that you're conserving as much as you possibly can, and then you are electrifying. And then you go to solar, if you can. I did everything backwards. I went solar, I did the home performance audit, and now I'm getting a new heat pump. Do not do it. I'm doing it the worst way possible. But, we all have to learn our own way. And I think that is it. Go to the website. Everything is on the website. Go to learn about renewables for all the renewable information. Lower My Bill is going to tell you about all the energy conservation and efficiency stuff. My Energy Use walks you through an energy bill if you really want to get the nitty-gritty there. Pay My Bill is if you need assistance paying your electricity bill. So for those at home, I know I spoke very fast, but go to this website. Everything's there. Is there anyone else that would like a kilowatt meter? We got 1, we got 2, we got 3. That's all I had left. I'm lying. I have one for you too, sir, that raised your hand. All right, y'all. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Larissa. I knew you'd bring the energy that's much needed at this point in our program. Please go see her. She has goodies. Montgomery County DEP is an excellent, excellent partner. We're so lucky to have people like Larissa and their team. We, at the city level, rely on these resources a lot. If you haven't heard of this stuff, that's a problem. Go to this website. Spend an hour sometime this week. It's really important, everything that she mentioned about. Yes, it's montgomeryenergyconnection.org. And all of this will be at the end compiled in the slides that are going to be posted online. All right, but we're going to keep things moving so we stay on time. Next up, we have Sam Kuharian, who is joining us online via Zoom. So if my friends in the back could bring him up. Sam has been an energy advisor at Energy Sage starting since 2021, and he has a background in community organizing and nonprofit fundraising. He enjoys doing numerous outdoor activities, including snowboarding, backpacking in his free time, and let's welcome him. Hi, Sam.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today and letting me tell you a little bit about Energy Sage and, maybe how we can help you, access some of these things like rooftop solar and community solar. Before we go, I did have a slideshow here, so I just wanted to see if maybe I could share that, screen share that here, if that'd be possible. Sorry, just give me one sec.
Yeah, I think our IT folks are working on it, so should be able to share in just a moment.
Awesome, perfect. Well, yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit, about myself, my role here, and what Energy Sage does. So I'm an energy advisor. I've been with Energy Sage, like we said, a little over 2 years now. And Energy Sage is an online marketplace. We're started with startup funding from the Department of Energy and other grant funding to be a source of information and a level playing field in the solar marketplace. So we are a for-profit company, but we still take that mandate of being, a trusted source of information, very important to our mission here. Our mission statement is to empower people to make smarter energy decisions through simplicity, transparency, and choice. So yeah, I want to show you guys a little bit about, what we can do for you if you're interested in looking at your rooftop solar options. We can get you quotes from our list of qualified installers that work in your area. And what we can do to help you access community solar too, because I think that's a great program. And so we have options so you can figure out what projects are available in your area, on your utility, and how you can sign up for them. So you can do all that directly through our platform. So let me see. Are we able to share those slides now?
Yeah, I
Could I
think
do
you
the-
should be able to share your screen now if you're able to do that.
Okay, awesome. So sorry. Is there anything more embarrassing than trying to use Zoom live?
Don't worry.
Okay, here we go. There it is. Cool. So, yeah, just a little bit more about our homepage. You can see some of the partnerships that we have with different government agencies and utilities, and a little bragging about some of the things that we've done so far in our track record. We've been online since 2012, connecting people with solar installers. And this is an example of our homepage. So if you go to energysage.com, this is the first thing you'd see. And from here, you can access our rooftop solar market, our community solar marketplace. We also do heat pumps in some areas. Right now, mostly just Massachusetts, Colorado, and California, but we're hoping to expand that. Yeah, so just, some of I know there's been a lot of great information tonight. Just a quick, summary again of the benefit that you can have personally, when you switch from, fossil fuels over to solar. It has a real tangible, effect on the CO2 that you're contributing and saving from. I think it's something that, when looking at rooftop solar, economics are really high of mind. Of course, you got to make the dollars and cents work, to make that kind of investment. We definitely want to make sure that, we're still talking about one of the most important things, which is, how it's helping the environment and lowering CO2 emissions here. So basically, on Energy Sage, this is an example of what it would look like if you were to make an account and then receive some quotes from installers in your area. Signing up on Energy Sage takes less than 5 minutes. We really just ask for your address, your email, your name, and about how much you pay per month on your electricity bill. So we do that. This goes out to our list of verified installers, vetted companies. So we're active in 41 states. So, installers that are local and in your area will have the chance to upload those quotes. And our process of vetting them, we look at, their customer reviews, their certifications, making sure they're NABCEP certified, for example. Looking at their financials as well to make sure that they have, good business practices, that they've good reviews, they're quality companies, so that, when you're interacting or possibly going forward with an installer from Energy Sage, that, you can trust that they're not a fly-by-night company or some of the scam artists that are out there. We also don't share your information with these installers unless you decide that you'd like to. So again, I think for anyone that's been in the solar shopping, space, they know how kind of intimidating it can be sometimes, especially if people are coming to your door. And so this gives you a really, relaxed way to view the information and view the full quotes. These quotes are very detailed. We tell you, what kind of panels and inverters they're using, potentially what kind of batteries they could offer. Of course, there's the cost, the cash cost, but they also include financing options for the quotes. So just from those alone, I think you can get a really detailed sense of what, solar would look like for you. Payback period, 20-year savings, all that sort of, financial return on investment info. In addition to that, one of the services we offer is we're a completely free service to use. We never charge customers for anything. Every customer that makes an account on Energy Sage is assigned a personal energy advisor. So that's my role as well in this company. But yeah, you have an advisor that's assigned specifically to you and your account. So you have the same person throughout your solar shopping journey. And we're here just to be an unbiased source of information for you. So if you have any questions about the quotes or incentives or next steps, whatever it might be, please reach out to us because that's what we're there for. Hopefully the best thing to do would be to be able to schedule a call. We usually do 15-minute calls, sometimes 30-minute calls, to help people, like I said, review their options. And I usually honestly do have multiple calls with people over the course of them shopping solar. Interacting with installers, getting updated quotes, checking back in, and just reviewing what their options look like moving forward. So another thing that we offer is community solar. I'll just kind of quickly go over what accessing that on our platform looks like. Of course, community solar I think is a great option for a lot of people. Especially, renters. I live in Boston. A lot of people, we really want to go solar, but, of course, don't own a roof. And I think, one of the things that it really does as well is it helps people access those renewable resources while also saving money, and not having to pay a premium like you do in a lot of cases from utilities for green energy. So I think this has already been covered better than I could here, but this is, just some more of those examples. Let me find a slide of what it looks like on the platform. Here we go. So all you have to do to see your options on Energy Sage, you don't even have to make an account. Just go to Community Solar and put in your zip code, and it will pull up all of the projects that are potentially available in your area. It may ask you what utility you're using because that makes a difference for what programs are open to you. So from here, you can see where the projects are located. You can see what kind of discount they're offering you on those energy credits. You can read reviews from other customers that have moved forward with these community solar providers, information about billing, all that kind of stuff. And again, if you have any questions as you're reviewing your options, you still have your energy advisors. And so we encourage you to reach out, schedule a call with us if you have any questions or just not sure what to do next, with your options. But in either case, if you decide you want to move forward with a community solar project, all you have to do is click that Get Started button through us. We just ask you a couple basic questions, obviously name, email, address, and all you need to really look up would be your utility ID number. So we send that to the community solar provider or developer. And so from there, they'll walk you through the next step of the process of being able to sign up. But all in all, getting started takes, again, like 5 minutes. So yeah, I think that, pretty well covers the basics of Energy Sage and how we can, like I said, help you access rooftop solar, community solar. I wanted to leave it open. I think we've got a couple extra minutes if there are any questions.
Yeah, we do have one question from our audience. We're a little behind schedule, so I think we'll just take your one question, and then Sam's contact information is provided up there, so they can definitely reach out to you after.
Great. Hey, Sam, my name's Vinny. I'm sort of looking at the stuff that Solar Switch does and thinking that's a way of bundling, and I'm trying to differentiate that with what you do. I guess what you're doing is if I go online and create an account, you're going to give me a bunch of options, but then I take it from there, whereas these guys, I give them $150 and they go out and get bids, and that goes from there. I'm just trying to actually say it out loud so I know if I got it right or wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much spot on. And yeah, I mean, what Energy Sage, what we do is really about providing you with as many options as possible. You can get up to 7 quotes from 7 different installers, when you make an account. And so, if you're just looking into solar yourself, or maybe you're just curious, what do the economics of it look like for you? We make it really easy to access those, get real quotes from real installers, without having to put down any money or make any kind of commitment at that point. And then if you decide to move forward, you can do that right through the platform. You can message those installers as well. You have the energy advisors. So you have a lot of support with you, if you want to explore solar further. But yeah, I think what Solar Switch does is great. Definitely being able to combine that buying power if you have other people that are, also looking at solar as well too. But it obviously seems like more, they do the auction process to get you, their verified installer instead of shopping multiple companies.
Awesome.
And don't forget that it's about $2,000 less when you do through the solar co-op.
Awesome. Any other questions, or? We good?
Hold on, we're having a comment in the audience, but I think it's all right. I think that's all we have time for, Sam. But again, I want to encourage you, in case other questions come up, to definitely reach out to him. But thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. So let's give him a round of applause.
No, thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
I'm going to ask our team in the back if you could bring up our slides. Thank you. This is a lot. This is a lot of input in a rapid fire fashion, and you all are wonderful for sticking it out with us. We have one more input, but I think we're going to have a little bit of a breather here, because this next one is a panel. So our office believes that despite the best resources on this topic and the best subject matter experts that you've heard from, sometimes the thing that moves the needle for you all is hearing it from your neighbor or someone that you know. So all that being said, I would like to invite our 3 panelists. I'll introduce you one by one to come up and have a seat on the stage. So many of you may recognize Randy Gibson. He is a council member from Ward 3. He began his role as a council member in 2022, but he has a 17-year career with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Farm Service Agency, and Rural Development, and he's been very active in a number of different community groups, so welcome, Randy. Walter Mulberry is a resident. Walter, which ward do you live in?
Randy's.
Ward 3, okay. Ward 3. He's a retired USDA scientist. He has installed 3 solar systems, 3 cooled heat pumps, and 2 heat pump hot water heaters, and 1 induction stove in different houses over the last 14 years. So welcome, Walter. And last, we have Joel Rosenberg. Joel, which ward do you live in? Ward 1. Joel is a part of the special projects team at Rewiring America. He's an educator and entrepreneur focused on helping solve the climate crisis, especially with how to teach about energy systems. He has a mechanical engineering degree from MIT and a master's from Columbia School of Journalism. Welcome, Joel. All right, yes. So thank you, gentlemen, for volunteering your time. So we're on a little bit of a tight time frame, but as discussed, I would love it if you could, we'll start with you, Randy, give a 5-minute share out about your experience with solar in your own home.
Thank you. I'm a bit intimidated by the technical expertise that precedes me. Glad to be here. Yeah, Randy Gibson, 30-year resident on Goody Avenue. And after USDA, then I retired, and I had a mission. That mission was to advocate and support for the environment. So I think I might be a poster child for this multi-pronged approach, because I got an energy audit. I did insulation in my own attic, and as well as with help. Dug up the yard, the lawn, and put in native plants, and then I had a solar rooftop put on. And I did, before they had these other programs that do it, I did it myself in terms of the research. So that's what I'll be talking about, is my efforts to get, and successful efforts to get rooftop solar. And I was asked to focus a little bit on SRECs, solar renewable energy credits. I still think some of my experience, even though it's 6 years old since I had solar put on, some of those lessons might be relevant. A couple of 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 steps: buy or lease, What are the benefits? Obviously, I mean, I say obviously, I think that the benefits in terms of the environment are the same, but the financial benefits are so much better if you're able to finance it yourself. I did get a quote from a resident who had a contract, a lease contract, and then she bought those panels, but she said, when I look back at this experience, I should have waited until I could buy outright the panels rather than leasing them, because I would have been able to take advantage of the tax write-offs. So step 2, at least in my history here, was some preliminary considerations, your roof. So how the quality of the roof surface for those panels. I've been told that if your shingles, you have more than one layer of shingles, you might have to redo them. And then your electrical panel, 150 amps, I've been told, this wasn't my experience, but I've been told that you might have to heavy up, which means an investment in a panel. But your installer, if you go, will be able to advise you about needing that. Big question about whether your area, your roof gets enough sun, shade, size, the angle of the roof, and the orientation. One resource that I looked at one point was EnergyStar.gov as some ways to look at those questions. But I think probably you'll need professional advice from folks that come to your house. And it's important, I would say, to have an on-site visit, because I reached out to four different installers, and I used Angie's List and friends to choose those 4, but 2 of them looked at the Google Maps and said, I don't have enough sun. I ended up with one company that came on site and said, I'll get 70% of my needs. So I said, okay, that's good. I'll use it. And I'll note that I am a long-term member of Neighborhood Sun, because the balance of my electrical needs are from Neighborhood Sun. So one of the Neighborhood Sun folks, I was an early adopter there, and went out to the site, the production site, which was a previous dump that had been renovated and had solar put up. So I was really pleased that they were able to reform that area. There's lots of different components, and different companies will offer different kinds of components. I mean, there's optimizers, there's Zigbees, this is a little bit of a minefield if it's not your area of expertise, and I could see some real advantages of getting someone else to do it, but I made my way through it, and I'm not an electrician or a scientist, a political science major, so I know how to be dogged, at least, to get some answers. And then how do you find a reputable solar installer? As I said, some of the new options available, which would include the Energy Sage. I was told by a neighbor who used it. He thought it was useful, although not adequate. And then Washington Consumer Checkbook magazine, I was told, was a good source. My source, as I had mentioned, Angie's List, and neighbors who have solar on their roofs. And then
Councilmember Gibson, I might need to cut you off right there just because of time. But
I'll just say there's some SRECs, there's some pictures, and flight, because we do have we are next to Washington D.C. and we have this is the PEPCO cross-jurisdictional line. So much of Ward 3, some of Ward 2, some of Ward 1 are covered, and the difference is something like a 7 times differential than from what Maryland pays. So if you can get on that, here's an additional bonus for getting. So I mean, it's a win-win thing.
We'll include the link to that map in the follow-up materials for everybody. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Walter, we'll jump to you next. I know you have a lot of experience with home electrification, so if you could please tell us about how you achieved that would be great.
So we went through the installation and energy audit years ago. We've been in our house 35 years. So we knew our energy, I'm a scientist, so we knew our energy use down to the, point of a kilowatt. And we ended up putting solar panels on our house in 2010. They worked fantastic. It was about a $25,000 system. There's a 30% tax rebate at the time, so it became something like 18 or 17. It paid itself off in the 10 years. And then we wanted to electrify fully because, well, we wanted to electrify so we had a gas furnace and things, so we wanted to get rid of that. And so we figured out how much energy we're going to use, and we're looking for a larger system. So we, the panels had they'd gone up 50% in capacity. So the panels we bought in 2010 were 220 watt panels, and now the panels were 360 watts. So we got rid of our old panels, actually sent them to El Salvador with a group, and put on these 360 watt panels. And so we got the advantage of that. And then we added, we went from 14 panels to 24 panels. So that will satisfy our, we've only had the whole system up for a year, so I think it'll satisfy 90% of what we're using now. That was a little hard. There weren't too many installers who would take the panels off and try to fit the system together again. And so we had a pretty unique system, a unique situation. I think that'll become more common because panel efficiencies keep going up. And so, I thought I'd have these panels for 20 years or more, forever. And it's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't really make sense. If you could generate twice the power, this really is a game changer. Thinking, well, I'm not really thinking about a 30-year panel now. I hadn't considered that. Then but we made a mistake. Well, we could talk about there's so many weeds in this that I shouldn't get into them. But there are things to consider. I would say the solar co-op is fantastic because you're going to get, if you get multiple quotes, you're going to get, every supplier has their own company they deal with, their own inverter, the system that they sell, like, a Ford dealership versus whatever else. And they're going to tell you why the system they have is fantastic. And then another dealer is going to say, well, this is what we sell, and this is why it's fantastic. And you're going to go, how do I tell this? With the solar co-op, they're going to choose amongst, again, vetted ones, and typically the vendors that keep coming up in the solar co-op are the same ones that got chosen the previous years. I mean, they have competitive bids. And that takes the onus off of you. They're good systems, and you're not going to be, unless you want to spend the time, it's going to be very hard to differentiate between somebody's inverter and someone's panels and whatever their system is. So I think the solar co-op is fantastic. I tried that. I was on a reviewing committee, which is also a big part of it. You actually, as a member of the co-op, you review, a select group does it, and I got to review them, and then ultimately we chose the vendor. And when they looked at our system, they go, you already have panels. And I go, I know. We want you to take them off. And they go, we don't do that. We don't do that. So we did the system, but it didn't work for our system. But again, I'm glad to talk because, I'm glad to answer questions because it's really getting in the weeds. Okay. We ultimately, just in the last month, we got rid of the last gas appliance, and Pepco, or Washington Gas, came and dug up the line and cut us off, which is an interesting process itself. So we're now off gas.
Gas line pruning. Well done.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Joel, your whole job is about electrification. So please tell us about your experience of becoming a community solar subscriber.
He's got to turn this one off. Oops. Hell. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I've done just about everything on here. I don't have solar on my roof yet, but I've gone through energy stage. I've gone through Electrify Montgomery County. I've done a lot of things. And my day job, I work for this group called Rewiring America, where we're trying to promote the idea of getting everybody off of fossil fuels and switching to all electric. So I'm happy to talk to anybody. My email, joel@rewiringamerica.org. I'm here to talk about community solar in particular, and I've been a Neighborhood Sun customer since I moved here a year and a half ago, basically. I initially looked at the energy choice, retail choice marketplace that you can do, and it's full of scams and unhappy people. And so I contacted Solar United Neighbors. They steered me towards community solar, and I signed up with Neighborhood Sun. The process is not, it's like a little what do I want to say? She could probably talk more about it, but it's like you sign up and then you have to I think you have to submit some documentation about how you're going to pay them, and then it shows up on your regular bill, but they're getting rid of that, so they're smoothing it out. It's worth it. And the thing is, it's not a scam because they charge you less money. Like, you pay less money. And it's open to everybody in this room, whether you're a renter or an owner, and it's compatible with rooftop solar, and it's compatible with your existing electricity bill. Somebody early said, somebody online said, what happens if there's not enough sun? Yeah, you get it from Pepco, from where they buy their power from. So you might get coal on a cloudy day, unfortunately, because we still have coal in this county. So I would say the first thing, I'll give you a quick, I have little handouts. I didn't realize there'd be a table out front.
Love that.
I would say everybody should sign up for community solar. I have a link here. Solar United Neighbors also has a community solar finder in addition to what Energy Sage provides. If you own a roof, you should at least get a quote. You should at least join Solar Switch and get a quote. And the more people who sign up, the better. And if you live on the DC feeder, I put the DC feeder line on the back of this handout here because I had never seen it before. If you live on the DC feeder, for reasons we can discuss, they will pay you $400 plus for every megawatt hour that your roof provides. And that has nothing to do with the solar panels, and it has nothing to do with your actual energy use. They'll just pay you money because DC has figured out, in a way that Maryland has not, how to get Pepco to subsidize rooftop solar through these wacko financial instruments called RECs. That's a whole nother topic, but suffice it to say, if you don't live on the feeder line, I'm sorry, your payback will still be about 10 years. So it's still a great investment. If you live on the feeder line, your payback can be like 3 to 5 years, and it should be a no-brainer. And if you walk around those neighborhoods, they are not swimming in solar. And if you look at Pepco's, where their energy comes from, solar's like 1.2% or something. So the more people we can get to go solar, the better. And it's better for everybody. Even if the people who live on the feeder lines get more money, great. Help pay it off. Take the money from Pepco, put it onto people's roofs and into their wallets. And then the third thing is, like Laura said at the beginning, community choice energy is coming. It's fantastic. I used to live in California. We had it there. Everyone defaults in. They go for 100% renewable energy. I will just wrap up with two things. It was mentioned, I said earlier, retail choice. You might be on retail choice and not know it, so you can look at your bill. If you're paying more than about 20 cents a kilowatt hour delivered, which you can get by taking the amount you pay and the number of kilowatts, if it's more than 20 cents, check to see if there's a provider that you're paying. I signed up for Neighborhood Sun when I was a renter, and then we bought a house. And the people whose bills I got, I'm pretty sure were paying 50 cents a kilowatt hour because I think they were being screwed by a predator. So check your bill. I have a link here to this woman, Laurel Peltier, who does tons of great work on helping people not get screwed. She says, if you check your bill for a supplier, you should cancel that by calling them directly. Ignore any contract cancellation fee. It doesn't go on your utility bill, and she's never seen anyone get taken to collections. And then the last thing I'll just finish with is you should plan to go all electric to make the best use of your solar. You know, the order that you go, an energy audit's a great thing. It's $100 if you go through Pepco, and then you get another $30 off on your tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act. But, switching like they've been doing to getting off of your gas appliance, replacing your fossil fuel boiler, replacing your equipment, or at least supplementing it with electric heat pumps is a great thing to do. My organization, we have a thing we call the Personal Electrification Planner, and I have the link on here too. It's just meant to help you, no fees, no nothing, kind of like Energy Sage, to help you make a plan for how to ditch fossil fuels. So that's it. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, so gentlemen, I wish that we had time for questions. I hope you can stick around for a few minutes in the hallway after if people want to approach you. But really quick popcorn. Let's say someone in this audience has 1 hour to dedicate as a follow-up to this topic we're discussing the rest of this week. What's the one thing that they should do in that 1 hour to get moving on solar? Randy?
Talk with your neighbors that have it.
Walter?
Yeah, I would say that because there's just so many details here. But ultimately, if you think it works for you, go to the solar co-op. It's just a no-brainer. But
awesome.
But still, like the weeds of it, like the payback and the cost and all that. I have those numbers. What does a normal system cost, and what's the payback, and anyway, glad to share that, talk at it,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Joel?
I'll say half an hour for signing up for community solar, half an hour for signing up for Solar Switch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Please approach them after. We are going to have a little bit of information in the hallway. But thank you, gentlemen. I have just a few closing remarks here. So first of all, a huge round of applause to all our presenters. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know.
This is what you get when you get solar roof.
Oh, sorry.
Peek out and you can see these bar
Yep.
graphs, how much you produce each day.
Truly, if you're a data nerd, yeah.
That day, it's a great day. It's fun tool.
Yep. I wish, this is a great information session. Definitely am going to leave more time for this type of panel next time we do this, because I think this is really valuable. Thank you. Just a couple of closing things for you all. So 2 very important events I'd like to invite you to. This is not our event. This is hosted by our friends at Electrify DC. This is the Healthy Homes Fair taking place on Saturday, April 6th at the DC Armory. We will be there. We isn't the Sustainability Office from Takoma Park, but highly, highly, highly encourage all of you to go. It is like an IKEA, but for electrification is the best way to describe it. If you're thinking about switching appliances, if you're curious about any of the incentives and the tax implications, this is going to be a whole lot of experts all in the same place. Doors open for the general public at 12 and 1. Yes, thank you, Larissa. 1 o'clock. Please come see us and please check it out. It's a free event, and I heard there's going to be free ice cream. And the second is we're having an Earth Day celebration on April 20th in the Sligo Creek Stream Valley Park. A lot of our friends and environmental partners in the community are going to be there as well. Rain date is Sunday the 21st, and there's going to be a lot of fun things for the whole family, so I hope you can meet us down in the park. And there will be snow cones at that one, yes. So to conclude, I just want to say I think that this has been a lot of information. Take your time with it. We decided to move forward and really go all in. Thank you guys so much for sticking it out. If you feel like you need a refresher or just like get back to the basics of how does this work, there's actually a recording from the session we had in 2019, which I think really did cover those basic components of how does solar work. And I think we really cranked it up a notch in this year's information session. But thank you again for your excellent questions and for sticking with it. And that concludes our event. So thank you so much. We'll be out in the hallway. The info table is out here, and I hope you all get home safe. Thank you.